This conference will now be recorded.
Right. Any questions, guys, that I can take? Anyone, any questions that I can take before I can get started with today's session? Anyone, any questions that you probably are trying, not able to get? Any questions that I can take firstly?
Sir, good morning, sir. Madhu here, sir.
Good, Madhu.
Sir, yesterday in yesterday's session we have seen creating three different storage accounts with three different locations and three different SKUs
Mhm.
under the same
Correct.
RG. Parallelly, we
Correct.
have done.
Correct. Correct.
So, is it possible to do the same parallelly with three different resource groups?
Yes, it is possible to do that, but provided in this case, you should not do something called as a resource group deployment. You'll have to do a deployment on your subscription. So the ARM template that we are writing right now is a resource group deployment template. So there's also
Mhm.
called subscription deployment templates. So yes, you can do it. Like in three different, let's say, resource groups, you can provision things out there as such.
But I mean, parallelly we can do that, right?
Yes, parallel you can do it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Yes. Any more questions, guys? Anyone? Any questions?
Well, yesterday we have tried container for creating container.
Okay.
There we use a concat, right?
Hmm.
Name instead of default parameter, right?
Okay.
So the container name should be automatically it will be created like a storage name plus we are giving container name like that, or only which we are giving on in parameter container name.
It's only the parameter container name. The default and the concatenation is just done to tell which storage account it is created. It's getting created under. The concatenation is just done because of that reason out there as such.
Okay.
So the container will be created just like a container name out there as such. And did you all try, guys? Did you all try to deploy the container? Any errors there or any questions there? Is anyone any
Hello.
questions before I move forward? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Abhishek, I tried it, but
Okay.
unfortunately, by default, when I'm opening Visual Studio Code, I'm getting premium LRS. I'm not able to change to a standard LRS.
When you're opening the resource group, you're getting a premium LRS and not getting a standard LRS. Okay. When you change it in your template, what is happening?
It's throwing an error. You cannot change it from premium to LRS.
So you deployed it and then you are changing it, is it?
Yes, yes.
No, no, just a second. The question that I'm trying to understand is that firstly you deployed a storage account, right?
Hmm.
And then you are trying to changing it from premium LRS to standard LRS.
Yes, premium. No, no, no. First, I did not deploy it. I thought I'll be creating it into that. By default, I'm getting it because I was seeing I was seeing that class recording video where I saw
Okay.
that you used standard LRS. So I thought let me create into a standard LRS. So there I'm
Okay.
getting an issue. And again
Okay.
at the tax value also I'm getting an issue. That by default I'm getting something else. If I'm trying to change something in my Visual Studio, that's
Mm-hmm.
not taking correctly.
Okay. What are you trying to change in your Visual Studio? Very firstly, which property
Always
are you
I'm
trying
getting
to
this
change?
error. Always I'm getting this error. I'll just let you know. Right hand side on the corner, I'm getting a starting ARM template language server and it's getting loading, loading, loading.
Okay. And what is the error that you're getting there?
Same, it's getting loading only. I'm not able to type anything. If I'm typing ARM also sometimes, okay,
Okay.
automatically my screen is getting blank.
Okay. Did you try uninstalling the Visual Studio and reinstalling it? And do you also have
No, I
.NET
have not.
Framework installed?
Yeah, both things I have installed in my Visual
No. Do
Studio.
you have .NET Framework installed on your system?
I don't know how to check that.
Okay. Firstly, just send me a screen recording of the same. I just want to see what is happening, and also just try. to uninstall the Visual Studio and reinstall it back again. And let me know
Yesterday I
how
sent
it
a
works.
screenshot. So you want me to send video?
Uh, Yesterday, the screenshot that you sent is that you're telling that the allowed value is not coming, right? That's the
Yeah,
screenshot that I
anything.
received.
What we do whenever we start a new page, Control N, we used to
Mm-hmm.
type ARM, right, to get the
Mm-hmm.
all the like by default parameters.
Correct.
I'm not getting that. If I'm typing ARM also, it's getting blank, and see, still I'm
Mhm.
getting that loading ARM schemes.
Okay. Yes,
I
please
think
send
there
me
is some
a
issue
screen
with my
recording for
Windows.
the same. I did not really get a screenshot for that. Please send me a screen recording for the same. I'll have a look into that and I'll suggest what needs to be done there.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, any more questions, guys? Anyone, any more questions out here? All right, so let's get started. And yes, let's go into some theory today. Let's see. So you created a storage account and you basically go ahead and do this. There's a storage account, there is a container inside this particular storage account. We create all these things out here, right? And inside that particular container, we go ahead and let's say upload our blobs. Let's say blobs. So we have a storage account container and then the blobs inside. So let's go do that. Let me go ahead search for a storage account. Check if I have a storage account. Yes, this is something, but yeah, I'll go ahead create a new one out here. So I'll just go ahead and say this is create new. I'll say storage RG. I'll say something like demo storage account. So something like this. Okay, it's already taken. Let's see, 3, 4, or 5, something like that. Fine. All right, ECSU. I'll say this is standard LRS, advanced networking, data protection, everything. I'm just going and saying review and create this out. And once created, again, you can do the same thing with ARM template or PowerShell scripting as we've been seeing earlier. I'll just go ahead now create now this one. I'll create this particular storage account right now, and I'll start storing my data here inside a container. I'll create a container and in the form of blobs, I'll start storing some data out here. So let's do that. Let's wait for the storage account to be created. And once this is created, let's go ahead and create a container inside it. And once the container is created, let's go ahead and upload or start uploading all our data inside this out there as such. So let's do that. Let's wait for this one to be created. And once created, let's go ahead create those containers and all these things out here. So my primary question is this. See, you have uploaded the data inside the storage account. There is data. You have uploaded all the data inside this particular storage account out here, inside the container of a storage account out here. Now, imagine there is a developer in your organization. Okay, this guy is now a developer in your organization. Now, this developer needs access to this data. He needs to go ahead, download the data, work with the data, and all these things out. If you need to give access to a developer onto a particular storage account, what are all the options that are available? How can you give the access? So the question here is, how can we give the access out here? Give
By
access
going
Chat.
to
to
your data.
portal,
Anyone
from portal we can give
from portal we can give. How can you give the in the portal? If for a particular storage account, what should you do in the portal?
access IAM, access
Okay,
control.
access control. So yes, one is the access control.
It's like
Access control.
owner
IAM.
contributor leader.
You can give a role like contributor, or you can give a role like storage account blob data reader, storage account container reader, and all these things out. Yes, one of the options that is available. Let's say I am not going through this option. I don't want to add people to my tenant.
We can share access key. Oh, sorry,
Access
SAS.
key, okay. Okay, SAS access key, yes. You can
And
share a
from there we can
SAS,
do it.
and you can share an access key, and you can ask this developer that's there in your organization to go ahead and download a software called what to access this particular data.
Storage Explorer.
Storage Explorer, exactly. So this developer in his laptop can download something called as a Storage Explorer out here. Can download that particular Storage Explorer software. Storage Explorer software, and once you give the key, or once you give the SAS token, I can just go ahead open up that particular Storage Explorer software, and simply go ahead and access my storage account, access the containers inside my storage account, do all these things out here. So let's do that. Let's cross verify that again. So let's come back. So I am a developer, and let's say my backend administrator is adding a container called test container, inside which I have uploaded a couple of data pieces out here. So let me go ahead upload some blobs. So upload, I'll say go ahead, and all these JSON files, right? Let's say these are my blobs today. Upload this out. All these are semi-structured data. I'm uploading all the data here in the hot tier and all that stuff. It's sitting hot. So let me go here, go here, either generate a SAS key or give the access token or give the access keys out here. SAS token or the access key. So I'll just copy this out. I'll say Storage Explorer as a developer. I now got the key. I am going inside that particular Storage Explorer out here. And once it opens, I can open the connection dialog, and I can go ahead and establish a connection with my storage account. So I'll just click on this one. I'll say storage account. I'll say connection string. Place this connection string here. I'll say next. I'll say connect. And now here I am. I'm able to connect to that particular storage account. I'm able to work with that particular storage account. Great. This is all good. I'm able to, let's say, go inside these containers. I'm able to, let's say, look at the blobs. I'm able to look at the, let's say, test container, and I'm able to see all the data inside this particular test container out here. So whatever you have uploaded, now I have the access. I can go ahead, let's say, edit, delete, whatever that I can do, because I have the access key. I'm okay with that. I'm okay to go ahead and, let's say, share it with this particular developer out here. Great. Now my question is that, see, what did you do is that as a DevOps engineer, one of the role that we play is that also maintaining the security of an organization, also maintaining or also making sure that your data is secure. So you went ahead and you shared the keys with, let's say, your developers out here. But what you realize is that after you give the key to the developer, within a week, this developer leaves the organization. This developer simply leaves the organization. And what did he do while leaving the organization? Is that he copied that particular key with him. The key, whatever that you have given, he just probably took a screenshot of it, or probably saved the key somewhere. He has the key, and he's no longer a part of your organization. He's outside your organization right now. Now, question back to you all: if the developer is no longer the part of an organization, do you think you can go ahead, or do you think that I, as a developer who's not a part of the organization, can still go ahead and access this data inside the storage account? Yes? No?
If he didn't do anything,
um,
he can. Yes.
Yes, he
yes,
will.
if we do not do anything, he can still, which means
Yes.
what should we do?
We need to rotate
To
keys.
remove the access.
We need to rotate the keys.
Rotate the key.
Okay, fine. So I rotate the key. So the developer left the organization, I rotated the key, and now if I just go and refresh this out, and if I go inside this particular storage account and try to, let's say, look at the blob containers out here and etc., this is the error that I get. So as a developer, I am now being thrown out of your organization. This is telling that, you know what, you do not have access. There is this 403 forbidden error. You won't be able to access this particular content and all that stuff. So the developer is simply being kicked out, telling that, you know what, whenever the developer is trying to request the data inside this particular storage account, the storage account is telling, you know what, I'm sorry, I won't be able to give you this data because you are no longer using the right access key. Please give me the right access key. But this developer, since he's no longer a part of my organization, I won't be giving him the access keys out there or the connection string out here. Good. I've avoided this particular developer. Now he's not the only developer in my organization, right? There will be many more developers. Let's
Yes.
say this developer is gone. There will be a developer too. Now this developer is now telling that, you know what, I lost the access because you rotated the key. Can you give me the new key right now? I'll say, okay, great, not a problem. Since you're any which way as a part of my organization, I'll give you the key. So I'll copy the new key. I'll give it to the developer. The developer will simply, let me detach this out. The developer will simply come into his, let's say, storage account or storage explorer, hit the connection, say, okay, fine, my organization is giving me a new key. Let me go ahead and connect to this. Done. Now I have a new key. I will be able to see him access the data. Sorry, I'll be able to access the data out here and all that stuff. Great. Problem solved. So I have went ahead, I have given it to the developer too, and so on and so forth. Let's say that this developer was much more quicker. As and when you gave him this key, within a day or two, he left the organization. What do you do now? So you gave him the key today on the 15th. He left the organization on the 17th or the 16th. So what shall we do right now?
Yeah, we can rotate again, and further we can give access with IP address.
We can rotate again. Okay, we can rotate again. Yes, exactly. You should be able to rotate again. And further, we should be giving access using an IP address. This is the point that I want to focus on.
Yes.
What do we mean by that? And where can we give the access using the IP address? So if I rotate it, yes, that developer will lose the access. Great, that is what I want. But when we say that we want to give access using the IP address, uh, how do we, do that?
Under SaaS, we can do that.
Under SAS, but I don't want to share the SAS. The developer wants the access keys only. What now?
Shared access signature.
Yes, shared access signature SAS one is the same. I don't want to generate this. I only want to give the access keys only. I am giving the access keys only. For some odd reason, I'm not generating the SAS at all. Let's say I'm not generating the SAS. Let's say I'm giving the connection strings only to the developers because for some testing scenarios, they only need the connection string. They cannot be using the SAS. Yes, if it is SAS, I can restrict his IP or his or her IP by using something called allowed IP addresses and etc. But that's not the case. What can we do now then? Do we
So with the help
rotate
of
this
virtual
key?
network,
Sorry, go ahead, please.
I'm not sure with the help of virtual network.
Okay, with the help of virtual network. Okay, I'll come down to that point. With the help of virtual network, anyone else? Any inputs? See, the point is, if this developer leaves, you rotate it again. This developer will lose the access. Developer 3 will come into picture. He will take the key. There are thousands of developers working in your organization, right? It's very difficult for me to even know when which developer is leaving the organization. I do not have a control on that. I have literally no control on which developer is leaving the organization when. So I cannot really tell which developer is leaving, when are they leaving, what is it and all that stuff. I cannot do that. I cannot literally control this out. But what I can do is that just scroll down. There is something called security plus networking. These are called as access control layers, ACLs, and this is called as a network ACL. or access control layer out here. What does it do is that it tells you that, okay, fine, you know what? As of now, your storage account is a public resource, which means if someone has a key to your storage account, like the developer 2 or the developer 1, they can simply come over the internet. They can be using the internet and they can go ahead and simply go ahead and access your storage account. Reason being, there is something called enable from all networks. It's telling enable from all networks, which means that all you got to do is just come, let's say, over the internet. If you have an internet connection, if you have a storage explorer, simply connect to that particular storage account over the let's say storage explorer, and you're good to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to enable access from all the networks. This is something that I don't want to do. Again, this is something that you even get while creating the storage account. So if I go inside the storage account and if I start creating something, in while creating a storage account, there's something called networking. It says enable public access from all the networks out here. I would say, you know what, I don't want this. I want to do something called enable from selected virtual networks and IP addresses. We'll talk about what a virtual network is. Let's park it aside for now. But what I can do right now is that if I save this, okay, what I'm doing is I'm now establishing some sort of an imaginary fence around my storage account and around the containers of my storage account, telling that, you know what, I cannot allow access publicly. As in when I hit this button, enable from selected IPs and virtual networks, I'm now hitting some kind of a fence. I'm telling, okay, fine, you know what? The storage account is now protected, and now even the developer 2 who has the key, who has the right key, cannot just access it over the internet. Let's look at that. So let's come here, and I am the developer 2 out here. I'll just refresh my screen. Let's close this container. Fine, let's go in that particular storage account. Let's go into the containers. And again, same issue. I haven't rotated my key, but I just put one more option, one small option called as networking. And in here, what I did, I said enable from selected virtual network and IP addresses. I am blocking, telling that, you know what, not everyone who's working on the internet is allowed. Only selected people are allowed. And how do I select the people? By using the IP address that they are using. See, if you are using a machine, anything, if you're using a laptop or if you're using a mobile or whatever it is, and when you are connected to the internet, you will get something called as an IP address. IP address is like the home address for your machines, or for, let's say, for your laptops, or for your, let's say, mobile, whatever it is, right? And using the IP address of your system, again, each and every system that you are using will have each and every, I mean, it will have its own IP when it's connected to the internet out there, right? So I'm sorry. Yes, even Wi-Fi will also ask you the IP address when you're configuring the Wi-Fi routers and all that stuff. Yes, that's right. So yes, so whenever you are connected to the internet over a Wi-Fi or using, let's say, a connection cable, something like that, you will be assigned something called as an internet protocol address. Using this address, you will communicate with different things out there. Now, anything that you do, right, even in the world online or anything, if you normally generally see, if I have to call one of the people inside this class, I have to know their number, right? I have to know their phone numbers. If I have to call you, I have to know your phone number, right? As simple as this, which means if there should be a communication that is established, or if you are talking to this particular storage account, there are now a couple of things that should happen. You should know the IP address of the storage account. Each and every Sorry, I think there was an internet issue. Just a second. Okay, is everyone able to hear me now, guys? Okay,
Yes, sir.
lost audio. Yes. Okay, where was I? I'm sorry. Was there a small glitch? Can anyone
Yeah,
tell
IP
me where
address.
you're? Okay, IP address, right? So that's what I was telling. Is that if you have to talk to the storage account right now, the condition right now is that you should know the IP address of this particular storage account. Firstly, you should know the IP address, but I don't know the IP address of the storage account. Then how am I able to talk to it? Not a problem. Come down to the storage account. There is something called as endpoints out here, and this is the URL of the storage account out here that you have. This is what I know. This is the name that I know, and using a connection string, I'm connecting to it. Copy this out. Go to your PowerShell. Say nslookup space. Give the name of that one. Say enter. It says unknown, cannot find, and all that stuff. Let's see. Let's do one more command. Say resolve hyphen DNS name. Give the name of this particular storage account, and you now have something called as the IP address of this particular storage account 20613200. Again, who is managing this IP address? It is Microsoft that is managing this out. But I don't know this IP address. I just know what this name, right? This is the name that I know. This is the name that I'm using. This is the only thing that I actually know out here. But Microsoft in the backend is helping you reach to this particular IP address. Whenever you type in a name, in the backend, Microsoft says, okay, fine, you're typing name, but not a problem. Let me convert that name into an IP address out here. So you are typing a name. Microsoft in the backend is converting that name and sending you to, let's say, a backend running machine or a backend running server, which is hosting all your data. Now, this conversion from a name to IP, right? It's called as a DNS resolution, domain name system resolutions. We'll talk about that in much more detail. And your system understands how or where the IP address is there, which means that the first condition is this. You should know the address of the storage account. Now I know the address of the storage account. Now I know where the storage account is actually sitting. And whenever I'm just going ahead into my storage explorer, establishing a connection, my storage explorer in the backend is just establishing a connection between my IP address and the address of the storage account. Simple. This is the connection that's getting established, and that's how you are able to talk to the storage account. The storage account is in back talking to you by giving the data and all that stuff. But what did I do right now is that I now put a condition in my security, in my networking. I put a condition that not everyone is allowed to access this. Only a few people are allowed to access this. And who are those people? I did not mention anything. That's the reason. If I go here, try to, let's say, access this particular storage account. So let me refresh this out. It's telling yes, you know the address of the storage account. That's the reason I've connected to that particular storage account. But second condition is not being met, which is your address should be allowed by the storage account, which is not the case. I have not allowed any addresses out here on the storage account. If I just go back, I have not allowed any kind of addresses on something known as a firewall of the storage account out here. So it's simply telling you that you know what, you're not allowed. Now it's telling you, do you want to add your client IP? This is my address. Again, how will I get this? If I just say what's my IP on Google, I'll get the same thing out here. Just type in Google search telling what is my IP. This is the public IP address of my laptop. It's telling this is your public IP address. So I'll say, okay, fine, copy this out. And I'll just go here. I'll say, please allow this particular IP address so that I can go ahead and let's say grab the data. I'll just save. This is called IP whitelisting. We call this as IP whitelisting. So I'll say, okay, fine. I've whitelisted my IP address, and now I'll just go back into my Storage Explorer, refresh this out once again. It will take like about a minute or so to, let's say, identify this out, and let's try this out once again. All right. Now I'm able to access the container. Earlier I wasn't able to access the container out here. Now I'm able to do this, which means that I allowed myself, or I allowed the IP address that is let's say allocated to my system, and then your laptop that you are working on and the storage account are able to talk to each other, because your laptop knows the IP address of the storage account, and storage account is addressing the, or storage account is allowing the, let's say, IP of your, let's say, local laptop. Both the, let's say, channels are established, then you're able to communicate right now. Now just imagine, developer leaves the organization. All you do, just delete the IP address from that particular firewall. That's it. Don't rotate the key, do nothing. I'm good with that. I'll just leave, or I'll just, let's say, go ahead. And if I don't want the developer to have access, I will come here. I can also delete the IP. I can say, okay, fine, this is the developer I don't want. I'll delete the IP address. I'm good with this. This is how I can, let's say, go ahead and whitelist someone to access my storage account out here. This is what I can do out here as such. Is any questions still here? Arvind, why do I see your camera on? Why do you need the camera on out here? It's disturbing a lot of people.
Sir, if you are
Good.
Sir,
Please.
having so many, okay. If you are an organization, so many employees will be there. So many IP addresses will be there.
Good question. Yes. If you're an organization, so many employees will be there, so many IP addresses will be there. It's not just one person, right? It's thousands of people who are actually, let's say, working in my organization. A lot of people would want to, let's say, go ahead and get an access to my storage account. I cannot be whitelisting thousands of people out here. No, I cannot do that. That is the first limitation. I'll also give you the second limitation out here. What is the second limitation is this. The IP address that you see out here that is given to me is a dynamic IP address. When I say dynamic, what do I really mean by this is this. This IP address changes frequently. Why does it change frequently? Very simple. The IP address that is given to you, right? It's given by someone known as an ISP, Internet Service Provider. Whoever is an internet service provider, let's say you're using a geo cable or nat fiber, whatever it is that that's available in Hyderabad or available in your location, that particular let's say ISP, internet service provider, is going to go ahead and give you or assign your laptop an IP address whenever you connect to the internet. But if there is a power cut, or if you restart your computer, this IP address, there is no guarantee that this IP address will be the same. This can change anytime. It can literally go ahead and change anytime out here. If it does, what should I do? I should again come here, update this IP. I should say, okay, fine, this IP is not 142, it's 143 at the end. And I'll have to save this again. Now, how many times should I do this, and for how many employees should I do this? Also, work from home is very common today. These days, work from home is very common. Today, you are working from your home. You have one IP address. Tomorrow, you went to your relative's house. You connected to their Wi-Fi. The internet service provider has changed. You'll have a different IP address. I'll again have to contact my administrator and telling that, you know what, I'm not getting because I'm on a different place right now. Imagine how difficult it is right now, right? it is very, very difficult to go ahead and do this or go ahead and whitelist all the IPs. And also the maximum number of IP addresses that you can whitelist here are 100. But what if there are 10,000 people working in my organization? How will I be able to whitelist all of them? Difficult, very difficult. That's the reason, because of these limitations, organization tells that, you know what, why do we depend upon a public network? This is a public network, right? This is a public IP address. All these things is the addresses, or all these things are IP addresses that are given to me by my internet service provider. So I have no control whatsoever on this. Organization is now telling, okay, fine. If we don't have any control, why don't we create our own network? Why don't we go ahead, create our own network, and then protect our resources using that particular network? Nothing but a series of cables that connects your resources with each other, and only those cables are now allowed to talk to your resources out here, which is a physical network. When I say a series of cables and etc., I'm talking about a physical network out here. But again, I cannot tell Azure that, you know what, please give me some cables and all that stuff. No, I cannot do that, right? Because I am working virtually on the cloud. It is all virtual resources. I just have a subscription. So I cannot tell Azure that, you know what, I want my own cables and all that stuff. No, I cannot do that. For which Azure gives you an alternative option telling that, you know what, I cannot give you a physical network, but since you are on the cloud, you can do this still. You can create your own network out here. Allow only those people that are within your network, within the boundaries of your network, by using a concept called as a virtual network out here. Since it is not physical, we are using something known as a virtual network. And then using this particular virtual network, you can protect your resources like a storage account, like a container, like a virtual machine, like a web application, like a function application, or all the different applications that you can actually go ahead and create in, let's say, the Azure out there. So it's now telling, okay, fine, this is what I can give you. So I'll say, great, this is what I need. So for this, what do I need to do? Microsoft tells, okay, fine. In order for you to go ahead and create, or in order for you to go ahead and, let's say, protect your resources using something called as a virtual network, you have to create a virtual network. So I'll say, okay, fine. Can I type in virtual network in the Azure portal? Yes, I can type in virtual network in the Azure portal. I get something called as a virtual network out here. Again, this is a network that I created yesterday. So what I'll do is I'll now create a new network out here. I'll say create. I just scroll down, and I can go and create a new resource group, or I can use the existing resource group out here. I'll say storage RG. I'll say sample network, something like this. Very, very importantly, guys, your virtual network that you're creating and the storage account that you want to protect using this particular virtual network, both have to be in the same region. You cannot have your storage account sitting in a region like West US. You cannot have your virtual network sitting in a region like East US. You cannot attach both of them. You cannot have. So virtual networking, whenever you come to networking, this is all regional specific. It's region specific. Regional. Regional in nature. So that's the reason I'm saying, okay, fine, I want a network in East US 2. And I will say, okay, fine, this is the network that I want in East US 2. I'll say next. Very, very, very importantly, it's asking what is the address space of your network. Address space of your network. We'll talk about this in great detail. But what I'll do for now is that I'll say, okay, fine, this is the address that I have. just taking whatever Azure is giving me right now, and there is something known as a subnet. Whatever Azure is giving me, I'll just take both of the values and I'll say review and create. I'll hit the review and create button right now. Again, what are address spaces? What are subnets inside it? How do you create it? What is the logic behind that? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, let's say, in today's session. I don't think I'll be having that much of time to, let's say, explain that. But we'll talk about that basically on what those are in much detail in the coming session. I'll say create. So I'm now creating something called as a virtual network out here. Virtual network is now created. And once the virtual network is created, so it will take like a minute or so to create the virtual network. And what I can do with this virtual network is that this is how a virtual network actually looks like. So whenever I'm telling a virtual network, it is giving you a private space on a public cloud, meaning your own space, your own secured space, let's say in a public cloud out here like Azure. What do I mean by that? Just imagine you have a, let's say, a big place out here and you are buying your own land there. Okay, I'm talking about a physical, let's say, world, to compare this in a physical world. So you have a big ground and you're buying your own piece of land. If you buy your own piece of land, what do? You establish fencing around it, telling that this is my property and all that stuff. This is what even you're doing in the cloud. You're telling this is my property, no one else is allowed inside it. And inside this space, you can go ahead and create your resources like storage account, like SQL servers, like virtual machines, like all the resources that are there in the Azure portal. You can secure it, which means that people outside this particular private space, meaning on the internet, they cannot just come here and talk to this particular, let's say, storage resources. So let's do one thing. Let's wait. This is created. So I have a virtual network that is created. What I'll do is, again, I'll go back to my storage account, go into the networking layer of my storage account. I'll say add an existing virtual network. And here it's telling, okay, fine. Which subscription your virtual network is setting in? I'll say this is a subscription, Visual Studio Enterprise. After that, this is the name of the virtual network that I have, which is sample network. Then it's telling what is the subnet. I'll select the subnet. I'll say, okay, fine, enable. And I'll add this out here as such. So I'll talk about what are service endpoints. And this is a great, I mean, this is a very big concept. So we'll be dividing it, let's say, into smaller pieces and we'll be discussing about this. Now, I am now telling that, you know what? My network called this particular VNet is allowed to talk to my storage account. Now, this is what I have. I have this network protecting my resource. So even if I just go ahead, give the access key to any one of y'all sitting in this class, you won't be able to access it until and unless you are a part of this particular network. You are a part of this particular network out here. You are inside this network. Only then you will now be able to, let's say, go ahead and access this out as such out there as such. Yes. Any questions still here? Anyone? Any questions still here? Anyone? Any
It is
questions that I can
only
take till?
for one resource group, sir.
I'm sorry. Can you come again, please?
We are given only one resource group, right?
I have given only one resource group. When you say only one resource group, can you please elaborate on your question, please? I didn't get you.
While we are networking, we are given the
Mhm.
storage name, right? Resource group name.
Correct.
There
No,
we
no,
can
he's
access
asking that.
only one. We can
Yeah, yeah.
access only one resource group in that.
Not really. I'm not protecting a resource group. I'm protecting a storage account. So
If your
your
storage
virtual
account will be in another resource, we can't access.
storage account, if it's in another subscription also, you can go ahead and protect it. Not even, I mean, you don't need to have your storage account and the virtual network in the same resource group But yes, you need your storage account and virtual network in the same region. You can have your network in any resource group, not a problem. It can be in any different resource group. You can still connect your virtual network with your storage account, not a problem, provided both of them, virtual network and the storage account, are in the same region. It is region specific. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we are providing for that particular storage account, right? These
Mhm.
securities, or
Correct,
else, yes, okay.
correct. We are
If,
Sir,
providing it for.
if we want to provide for another storage account, the again the process will repeat.
If you want to protect it for the other storage account, again, you can use the same network and just connect to it. Yes, you'll have to go into the second storage account, go into networking, say enable, and then attach this out. You can reuse your networks. You don't have to recreate a new network out here as such.
Okay, right, right.
sir, can you please go ahead and show me once again how to add storage account to the virtual network?
How to add that? So sure. So firstly, we need to create the virtual network. So you just go ahead, create a simple virtual network out here. So let's say this is the storage account. Okay. In my example, I have a different storage account, but let's say this is the storage account. I'm just scrolling down. There is networking. Go inside the networking. Say enable from a selected virtual network or the IP address. Say add an existing virtual network and select the virtual network that you created. In my case, this is a different, let's say, region. The region of this particular storage account is in India, and my virtual network is in, let's say, US, so I won't be able to attach it. But yes, if you just say add existing network, just select your network, and there is something called subnet. Just select the subnet and say enable and add out here. This is how you add a virtual network to a storage. So again, if you just go here into the East US, there is something known as networking, and in here you can just go ahead and add something known as an existing network. You can add this out, select a subnet, and you can just add this out here. So enable and just add this out here as such. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question here.
Hmm.
Yeah, for
Just a second,
example,
Arvind. Just a second, Arvind. This is again second warning that I'm giving you. I don't need your camera to be on. It will disturb people online. If you are switching your camera on, please don't join the session. Yes, go ahead, please.
yeah, there is RG1 and RG2.
Okay,
RG1 have one storage account, and
okay,
RG2 also have one storage account.
okay.
Uh, in RG1, while creating virtual network, we assign that
Hmm.
RG,
Okay,
and it's protect the that RG1 storage account.
correct.
Now I need to protect the storage RG2's storage account also.
Hmm.
So here I need to create one more virtual network in RG2, or I can manage with that virtual network only.
You can manage with this virtual network only, provided this virtual network, which is your VNet. Okay, VNet 1.
Okay.
Let's put this in. You can manage with the same until the VNet 1 and storage 2 are in the same region.
Same region, but a different RG also. Okay, no problem.
Yes, even in a different subscription, it's okay, no problem.
Okay.
Even if it's in a different RG, I'm good with that, not a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
Sir,
more
That's
questions here?
sir, what if region changes? Again, we need to create one more virtual network, right?
Yes, if region changes, then yes, you will have to create a new network out there in that particular region.
Okay, thank you, sir.
just storage account region and virtual network region both need to same, not the resource
Correct.
group region.
Not the resource group region. That's correct.
But actually, storage account inside the RG, no? So there
Correct.
wouldn't be any problem while
No, there
server down.
won't be a problem. No, there won't be a problem. Again, there is no correlation between the region of a resource group and the region of a storage account. There will not be a problem, but for a best practice, we make sure to create all our resources in the same region. Like if my
Okay.
storage account, let's say, is in East US2, my resource group will also be in East US2 out here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, any more questions here, guys?
Uh, Hi, Kiran. I have a question.
Good, please.
What we like if we have like multiple storage accounts, we need to provide access by which storage account, or we can provide it in bulk.
When you say multiple storage accounts, okay, let's say you have 10 storage accounts. So your question is that, do we create 10 virtual networks out here? I'm sorry, can you come again with your question, please?
Mm, Yeah, while providing like no with one virtual network, we need to protect the 10 storage accounts which are in the same region. So we
Yes.
need to go one by one and do that.
Again, you can automate it. You don't have to, let's say, go ahead into one by one and do it. You can automate this out. You can write a PowerShell script, or you can, approach this to an ARM template. You don't have to manually do it, but yes, it can protect 10 different storage accounts out here, provided everything is in the same region. How do you protect that? You can write a PowerShell script. You can automate that out. Or while you create a storage account in an ARM template, you can directly tell what is the network out there. You can do that as
Oh, thank you.
well. No problem. Which we'll also see. Again, we'll come back to our ARM template and see how you can create all these resources using the ARM template. So we'll be touching the automation again and again. So we'll address that particular question out there as such.
Yeah, actually
Yes,
one more
anyone?
question.
Good, please.
Actually, we are assign the storage account to that virtual network to protect.
Correct.
Uh, Actually, if was there multiple storage accounts in single RG, was there any
Mhm.
chance to assign that single RG to access all the storage accounts automatically?
No, you cannot do that. Virtual network will not protect the resource group. It will protect the resource. It will protect the resources inside the resource group. So you cannot directly do that. You will have to automate it. You will have to, let's say, write your own scripts to automate it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any more questions, here, guys?
Sir, if the storage account and the virtual networks are two different locations, so if you want to
Mhm.
store a storage account in a virtual network which is in a different location, so every
Okay.
time we need to manually change the location, or is there any automation for that?
Again, see, you cannot change the location because you neither can change the location of your virtual network, neither you can change the location of your storage account.
But you
So
told that
very
both need to be in the same location.
yes, both should be in the same location. So you need to either create the storage account in the location of, let's say, your virtual network, or the virtual network in the location of the storage account. Once you create them, you cannot change it. You'll have to delete and recreate it again.
So everything need to be done in the same location.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So in case if both are in conflict, we have to change the things. Delete and we have to
Uh,
recreate the entire resource group
Correct. You'll
in
have
the
to
same
recreate your entire
location.
network. Correct. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We
Yes. Any
Uh,
can't
more questions, here?
restrict some storage accounts like that.
I'm sorry. Can you come again, please?
We can restrict some of the storage accounts only access.
I didn't get you.
If we are giving the networking right
Mm-hmm.
connection, we can
Mm-hmm.
restrict that some of the accounts should be accessed, some of the storage accounts should not be accessed like that.
Correct. Kind of. It's a restriction. That's right. Yes. Any
uh,
more questions, guys?
yeah, one thing. Uh,
Good. Please.
if by chance, by mistakenly, we give virtual network with some other reason and storage account with some other reason,
Okay.
uh, by deleting the store instead of deleting the storage account, if we
Mm-hmm.
delete the virtual network, was there any issue? or it's
No,
okay?
will not be. Will not be. Again, a good point raised is that yes, my storage account has a lot of data. I don't want to delete my
Yeah,
storage account. I want to delete my virtual network. No problem. Go ahead, delete your virtual network, recreate it in a new region. Shouldn't be an issue.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, so we'll continue the discussion again. We need to understand what a virtual network really is, go inside the virtual network in depth and understand how do you create a virtual network, what are the components of it, and etc. And from tomorrow's session, we'll be officially starting the networking portion of our syllabus. We'll look at networks, we'll look at virtual machines, we'll look at load balancers, we'll look at connectivity and all that stuff. That's going to be, let's say, the journey that we're going to do. And yeah, let's look at that. And for now, that's it from my end. Have a good day ahead, guys, and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Sir, isn't going to be the theory part?
Uh, it's a combination of theory and
Kind of.
practical. It's not theory. No, it's not theory. It's a combination.
I mean,
Again, even. Hmm?
is, does it include scripting also? That's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry, can you come again?
Does it include scripting and programming too, or it's just a kind of theory one?
No, it is again, whenever we are saying creating, we'll have to come down with something like an ARM template or something like that.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.